Is there anything better than lying on the couch, having a nice cup of coffee next to you and reading a really good book? I don't think so, but the emphasis here is on having a good book. Because nothing is more frustrating than starting a new book and finding out after a few chapters that it's just not that good. I think life is too short to read bad books, and there are plenty of great books out there, so why waste your time? And in this video I'm gonna give you the top 5 best fiction books of all times. Let's get started. Now, just to be clear, those are fiction books that came out in the 21st century, so I don't include fiction books that are actual classics here. If you're looking for those though, don't you worry, I got you covered. I already made a video about this topic and you can find it right up here. Now, without further ado, let's get to the first book on our list of best fiction books of all times. This one is called Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. The story follows a 9-year-old boy who has lost his father in the 9/11 attacks. He's struggling with anger, anxiety, depression, and on top of that has a difficult relationship with his mother. So things are not going great for him. One day, by pure chance, he discovers a hidden key in his father's closet and decides to go out on a mission to find the lock that matches that key. And that's when an amazing journey and a fantastic story starts unfolding. I don't want to spoil too much here, but it is a great read. What I particularly enjoy about Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close is that it's so well written. It's never easy to make the protagonist a 9-year-old boy, write in his voice, and still don't sound too cliché. But this book manages to do exactly that. It finds the right balance between a serious subject, a kid that is clearly struggling in life, and still being funny, being entertaining, and telling a story that is truly immersive. So if you're looking for a book that makes it really hard for you to put it down, then Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close is a great choice. The second book on our list is by arguably one of the greatest writers of the century. It is Haruki Murakami's Kafka on the Shore. Haruki Murakami has written a bunch of international bestsellers. He's most well known for books like this one, or this one, or this one. But for me, Kafka on the Shore was the first book I ever read from him, and it's still the best. The story revolves around a 15-year-old boy who names himself Kafka after his favorite author and runs away from home one day to escape his family curse. But while you as a reader are following him on this journey, there's a second parallel story that unfolds in this book. And this story is about Nakata, a man who is unable to read or write after an accident, but who is able to speak to cats instead. Now, this is probably the moment when you're starting to think, this story sounds a bit odd. And you know what? You would be exactly right, because this is a very odd book. There's a lot of strange things happening here, a lot of things that you can't explain while reading it, and honestly won't be able to explain until the end. I read some reviews about this book in preparation for this video, and one of them said that this book feels like an LSD trip in writing, which I think captures the feeling of this book perfectly. A lot of the imagery and storyline in this book is really strange, but at the same time really colorful and vivid. Finishing this book honestly does feel a little bit like coming out of an LSD trip, so don't expect everything to make perfect sense in the end. Instead, enjoy the beautiful writing, enjoy the journey that it takes you on, and just immerse yourself in it. And by the way, if you enjoy this video so far, then make sure to subscribe so you get more videos just like this one in the future. The third book on our list of the best fiction books of all times is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. This is the only thriller that I have included in this list, but I believe it deserves a spot on this list. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is incredibly intense, it's so exciting to read it, the characters are really well developed, so even though I'm not the biggest crime fan, I do think this is one of the best fiction books of all times. In it, journalist Mikael Blomkvist is hired to solve a decade-old mystery, the disappearance of Harriet Wanger. Harriet disappeared from one day to the next as a teenage girl without any trace, nobody knows what has happened. Everybody expects her, of course, to be dead since nobody has heard from her ever since, but nobody knows exactly what went down. As the story progresses, Mikael gets help from a highly qualified but also highly irritating research assistant called Lisbeth Salander. He doesn't really know much about her, but soon finds out that she's exceptionally smart, exceptionally good at her job, and exceptionally private about the rest of her life. To find out if the two can solve the mystery around missing Harriet Wanger, you have to read the book yourself, and I highly recommend that you do so. Especially if you're interested in Swedish culture, Swedish society, and life in Stockholm as a whole. whole, this is a great book to read. For me, who moved to Stockholm 6 years ago, it's been great fun to recognize all these different places that are mentioned in the book and that actually exist. Besides that, the writing is of course incredibly immersive, so once you get started with this book, it's gonna be really hard to stop. And luckily, once you reach the end of the book, there are 2 more books waiting for you as part of this trilogy, and they are just as good. The next book on our list of best fiction books of all time is Harry Potter. Okay, I really don't think I have to break down the plot of Harry Potter here, because by now pretty much everyone on this planet knows the story. Yes, of course, Harry Potter originally was written as a children's book, and yes, it's been milked till the very last drop in the last couple of decades, but still, you can't make a list of the best fiction books of all time and not at least mention Harry Potter. There's almost no book in history that sold more copies than Harry Potter, and it created a hype of unprecedented dimensions at the beginning of the century. It was crazy. Bookstores would open at midnight to be the first ones selling the new Harry Potter books. People would wait outside the bookstores in Harry Potter costumes to be the first in line. Honestly, what other book can you say that about? So me mentioning Harry Potter on this list is really an urge to the younger generation to not only watch the Hollywood movies, but instead go back to the books. Read those 7 books one after another, and I still believe it's as captivating and as mesmerizing as it was for the teenage generation 20 years ago. So with that, we have reached book number 5 on our list of the best fiction books of all time. And this one is called Life of Pi. It tells the story of protagonist Pi, who early on in the book survives a ship crash. The ship originally transported an entire zoo, so when the ship sank and Pi saved himself onto a raft, he soon was joined by a few of those animals. So he needs to figure out how to survive on his own while sharing this raft with a zebra, a monkey, a tiger, and other animals. I'm not gonna go and spoil the ending here, but I can say that the entire story is a fantastic metaphor for life itself. It discusses difficult situations that we all face from time to time and how to best overcome those. The book furthermore has a great way of describing the human mind and how it works under extreme pressure, really life and death situations. And if you feel like I'm being a bit cryptic here, then yes, that's entirely true, but it is due to the story itself. It is the type of story that you want to tell people to read, but at the same time want them to explore it on their own and not give away anything more than necessary. So I hope that you will pick up the book yourself and enjoy it just as much as I did. So there you have it, the 5 best modern fiction books of all time. All of them are equally great in their own unique way, so you can't really go wrong here. Pick any of them and let me know down in the comments what you thought of them once you're done reading. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.